Hey Douglas, it's Opal. So, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the M12 holster or the UM84 holster, made semi-famous by the US's military use of it and through how I found out about it, which is through Forgotten Weapons, because he uses this holster for many different pistols during his various shooting videos. And so I got one, and although it is a very nice holster, it has two relatively big problems with it that I don't like. Or probably more than two, honestly. So, number one is there's no optics cut in it. Number two is this is made for smooth bottom Berettas and 1911s. So if you put something with a pick rail in here, it gets really tight. And this material that's made of, the nylon weave, it's very easily deformed at like a point. So you can kind of pinch the trigger through the material, which is, not super duper likely, but it does make me feel a little uncomfortable, especially because the flap doesn't actually cover up where the trigger goes. And so I designed this guy. This is available on printables right now, and this is made out of 95A TPU. You basically print it standing up, and then this flap is printed flat. So this guy, although it is flexible, you can't really pinch through it like you can on this guy because it has this reinforcing rib here at the back. It fits quite a bit more pistols because of this little retention flap right here. And rather than mounting with like a little metal bracket, this guy just has a MOLLE weave on the back right here. This little tab is just here to stop the flap from rotating side to side. So you would just weave this through a piece of MOLLE, and then it gets really tight whenever you put it through a piece of MOLLE. So you would just take this little tail and fold it back in on itself, and it'll be stuck in place. The normal UM84 has a cleaning rod. I didn't really want to have a cleaning rod because, honestly, we don't use corrosive primers anymore, so there's no reason to have one. So what this guy has instead is a bore punch. So this is 6 millimeters wide, and so this will work with 7.62 or any 30 caliber pistol projectile or larger. So if you have a barrel obstruction, you can just use this to punch it out. This is about 5.5 inches, I think. So it won't work on like a Glock 17L, but any like normal pistol, it'll work just fine. And it fits in there very tightly, just so I don't have to have any type of locking mechanism. And the flap works in basically the same way. You've got a little hook on the UM84. You just kind of bend it out and then in, and then it sticks in place. And same on this one, you just bend it out, and this little tab hooks into this little loop right here. And so if you pull just straight out or up or any way that's not like down or out, then it'll just stay nice and locked up, which is nice. Now, there are about 4 versions available, but I only have 2 main versions here. This version has an open bottom and an optics cut in it. And this guy is closed bottom, no optics cut. And of course, the flaps are a little different to accommodate the optic. I'll include the correct flap with each file on printables, so you don't have to worry about that. But this guy, I wouldn't use it unless you had to, because you're just going to get a lot more grime and dirt into the gun, or into the holster, I mean, whereas on this guy, it'll hold everything pretty securely. I'm sure a lot of stuff will find its way in if you're like running around in the desert all day. And unfortunately, TPU doesn't fold on itself quite as snugly as nylon does, but it'll do a relatively good job. And it's mostly about firearm retention rather than it is about staying clean. So, let me cast this version aside because it's less compatible than this one. And I have a giant pile of pistols next to me. Let's go through them. So, a PX4 subcompact, the big fat baby PX4 that does not have a rotating barrel. This will not actually fit in here. Or you can get it in, but you can just pull it out the side after you get it in. So this does not count as retention. Whereas in here, if you can get the decocker out of the way, it does not come out, which is nice. Throw it in the done pile. We have a Star 30M. And this one, if you wiggle it enough, not only does the trigger get exposed, but you can actually get it to come out the side. And I know I'm torquing this and twisting it around a lot. If you're like rolling around on the ground or hiking or doing something, like the Murphy's Law, the worst thing possible will happen. So I don't count this as being retained by this holster, because you can technically get it to come out. And on this guy, it's stuck in there all the way. It's not coming out. K245, which is a 45 caliber CZ75, and completely retained, as you would expect. And although it does fit in here, it is really hard to get it closed. Alright, but that's in there. Now, neither of these work with a revolver, but just to show you, 357 revolver doesn't fit, and it doesn't fit in here because you can get the trigger exposed. Let's try a bigger revolver just for the fun of it. 8-inch Taurus 44, doesn't close, doesn't cover up the trigger guard, doesn't work for either of them. I have another revolver in the pile, but I think it's at the bottom. Oh no, here it is. Taurus model 856. Slide that in there. And although you can close it, you can get the trigger exposed and pull it out. Let's get that flap back in there. This little setup here isn't quite as tight because it's not actually mounted to a piece of MOLLE. Once it's in a piece of MOLLE, it'll lock in place pretty well. And if you don't like how tightly it's locked in place, you can always just take a soldering iron and melt the fold over on itself, so it just won't be able to slide out. Okay, what else do we got? Beretta Cheetah. Beretta Cheetah goes in here, locks in place, doesn't wiggle out. Oh, no, it does wiggle out. Oh, is it wiggling out because, oh yeah, it's wiggling out because this tab is coming loose because I've shot this video a couple times. Ooh. Okay. Got that in MOLLE all secured, and it does not wiggle loose. Oh, that tab did pop out. I really should have mounted this to a belt before doing this video, but c'est la vie. Oh, and of course the Beretta Cheetah will not stay in here because the barrel's too short. You can just pull it straight out the side. Same thing with the Makarov. Makarov can go in, and it doesn't come out. Makarov in here, goes in, and it comes straight out the side. Browning High Power. You'd expect this to work, but I was able to actually get it to wiggle out earlier by pulling the flap to the side. Whereas on this guy, it does not come out. Glock 19. Glock 19 stays nice and secure. Glock 19 in the UM84. And I guess if you pull the flap to the side, it will come out. And even if you don't pull the flap to the side, it will like get the trigger exposed, which is not the best thing in the world. When a lot of these have magazines in them, that's just so I don't lose the magazine. They're not actually loaded. Okay. Dusk 19 frame, also Glock 19, slides right out. And of course, stays in here. LCP Max, way too small to go in a holster like this, and of course it slides out the side. And I don't even need to open this to put it in. It just slides right out the side. How about a Glock with a compensator? Oddly enough, this does get retained by the UM84, but you can get the trigger to be exposed, which is not so great. Whereas on here, it does not, although it does stick out of the bottom a little bit. Although this does work on the closed bottom version. Tokarev. Tokarev is a surprisingly tricky pistol to get working because it's so slim that it likes to slip out, but it does get retained, and it will come out on the UM84. Yep. How about an AREX 0? AREX 0 will go in. It is pretty tight because it has a pick rail and it has a really high height overbore because it's a SIG. And if I pull the flap to the side on the top, it will be able to wiggle its way out. Whereas on here, it fits nice and deep, and it's not coming out unless you rip the flap off. How about a PX9 from TSAS? Don't get that, by the way. Not a good gun. Does not come out at all, no matter how I twist it. And on the UM84, it's very tight in there because it's really high height over bore. And if I pull the flap to the side, will I be able to get it out? Nope. It's actually retained. The little bucket I have next to me full of pistols is getting full. Okay, Glock with no sights. This will, of course, slide right on out. TX22. I think a TX22 works in here. Yeah, no, it doesn't. But TX22 does work in mine. How about a Glock 48? That is missing a mag release. It doesn't come out. Whereas on here, it does. How about a 1911? With a pick rail. Oop. And the pick rail doesn't let it go quite as far down as you would like it to. And it does fit, although it is very, very tight in there. And of course, it fits perfectly on mine. Glock 40 obviously doesn't fit because it has a 6-inch barrel. But it does fit on mine. And it has that little optics cut in it, of course. It sticks out the bottom just a little bit. And then, let's see, we got 2 guns left. G43X with an optic. Of course, it doesn't come out of mine. And does not fit in this one because it has an optic and its barrel is too short to be retained. And the last one, a Beretta Model 34, or Beretta Model 1934. It does not get retained. You can just shove it in the side. And I don't think it works on mine because it is like basically a pocket pistol. Yeah, you can wiggle it out. So yeah, pocket pistols don't work inside mine, but basically everything else that's not a pocket pistol or a revolver will work just fine. And of course, there's a bunch of different variants. Get whatever one you want. I don't charge anything for these. I'll have a link for my printables and my Twitch in the description. If you want to get this, or if you want to get any of the other things I have on there, like all the various mag loaders, or I don't know, if you want a buffer tube adapter for an AK or a G3 or something, I have all of that on my printables, and I'll catch you all next time.